In this section, we are going to discuss implementing prompt and prompt fading procedures. What is a prompt? A prompt is a way to assist a learner when teaching a new skill. If the learner is responding with an incorrect response or is being introduced to a brand new skill, the RBT most likely will immediately provide a prompt to the learner with the correct response. Prompts are based off a prompt hierarchy, which is most to least and least to most, depending on the learner and the skill you are teaching. RBT should fade out their prompts appropriately until the learner starts to respond correctly on their own. The prompt hierarchy is a system used to cue a learner when teaching a specific behavior or targeted skill. These prompts are listed from most intrusive to least intrusive. This allows the learner to learn the targeted skill and gain independence. Full physical prompting is when the RBT works hand over hand with the learner. For example, teaching the learner how to brush teeth. The RBT might prompt the learner by using a full hand-over-hand prompt. A partial physical prompt is simply tapping the learner's arm to initiate movement towards targeted skills. Gestural prompts. RBTs will maybe point to an item for the learner to retrieve. Verbal prompts. The RBT will verbally tell the learner how to do the skill. For example, when teaching an expressive program, the RBT may deliver an SD saying, "Say bat," and immediately saying bat for the learner to mimic. And lastly, a visual cue. An RBT might write down the phone number they are teaching the learner for the learner to read off from. Graduated guidance is during instruction when the RBT will provide a physical prompt when necessary. When using graduated guidance, the RBT will automatically fade out the physical prompt to transfer stimulus control. What that means is the RBT will guide along with the learner's movements to promote independence in the task or skill that they are completing. For least to most prompting, this is used based off the prompt hierarchy. RBTs will most likely use least to most prompting when transferring stimulus control from response prompts, allowing the learner the opportunity to perform the tasks with minimal prompting. So for example, the RBT might use a gestural prompt versus using a full physical prompt when teaching how to clean up toys. This is the procedure used when using least to most prompting. Number 1. The learner must respond in a specific amount of time with the correct response. Number 2, if the learner does not respond, the initial discriminative stimulus will be presented again with a response prompt using least assistance. And number 3, if the learner does not make a correct response after the second delivery of the SD, the instructor will use a more and more intrusive prompt, such as a partial physical prompt. When prompting a learner, the RBT will prompt the learner before or during the response to promote the correct response. When teaching a new skill, the RBT will provide a prompt to the learner immediately to avoid the learner making errors. RBT should prompt immediately rather than giving the learner to respond correctly on their own and produce an error. The RBT will gradually fade their prompt until the learner starts to respond correctly on their own. When fading prompts, this helps promote fluent and independent responses from the learner. Let's look at the example provided. The instructor is using a partial physical prompt to teach her client how to pick up their toothbrush. After several trials, it was appropriate for the instructor to fade her prompt to a gestural prompt. While delivering the SD, which is brush your teeth, the client responds by picking up his toothbrush after she pointed to it. When prompting learners, you might find yourself utilizing your prompt hierarchy during discrete trial teaching. What are other steps for DTT? First, you want to make sure that the learner is attending and there are no other distractions in the DTT setting. Second, the RBT or instructor will deliver the instruction. A prompt may be paired with the delivery of the instruction depending on the learner. Give the learner at least 3 to 5 seconds to respond to, or any appropriate amount of time depending on your learner to respond to the given instruction. Depending on how your learner responds, you might prompt your learner using the prompt hierarchy or if they could answer independently. You will immediately reinforce or use an error correction for incorrect responses. Make sure to record your data and move on to the next trial. When recording data, it is important to take accurate data after each trial you do with your learner. An appropriate time to take data is immediately after the learner responds. Errorless teaching is used as an instructional strategy for teaching learners new skills and maintaining learned skills. RBTs and instructors implement prompts with their teaching that they will fade gradually to promote independence. RBTs and instructors also use errorless teaching for learners who have a learning deficit and engage in problem behaviors. Skills taught using errorless teaching can be motor skills, fine motor skills, daily living skills, verbal behavior, and many more. Fast-paced instruction involves keeping trials short and quick from one trial to the next one. This helps the learner with fluency when learning a new skill or task. What is error correction? Error correction is when you want to make sure you are teaching your learners the correct answers when they respond with the incorrect response. During error correction, the instructor is not delivering any form of reinforcement because we do not want them to continue to make the same error in the future. The instructor will represent the task and immediately prompt the client to the correct response or answer. Do not forget to fade out your prompts throughout your teaching. It is important to reinforce your client throughout your teaching to increase more correct responses. Make sure to refer to your client's behavior intervention plan to see what type of schedule of reinforcement they have.